Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this dress. So the first thing I did is to cut out the fabric I'm going to be using. So you can see there are two of them here. I don't really know the name of this fabric, but I think it's crepe. So I'm going to start with the width. So guys, the width I have here is just my hip measurement divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches. It depends on you. You can add extra 2 inches. So the hip divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches. This is because I'm cutting both the front and the back together. So because the front one will have a slit, I need that 1 inch for the front, and then because the back will have a zip, I need that 1 inch for the back, if that makes any sense. So just that's the reason why I have 2 inches, is because I need 1 inch for this side seam, but I also need that extra 1 inch from just you guys to see as I'm going. Just know that the width you're working with here is your hip measurement divided by 4. Add extra 2 inches to it. So I'm going to rule a straight line down from here. That will be about 1 inch width. So guys, let's say this is going to be the back panel. So you mark your 1 inch for your zipper here, and then the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and insert my waist measurement divided by 4, which is going to be about 8.5. Mark that here, and then I'm going to add extra 2 inches to it, 1 inch of seam allowance and 1 inch of darting. You understand? All my measurements are starting after this 1 inch here of my zipper allowance. All my measurements are starting there. So from this point is where I added my waist divided by 4. I marked it from this point to this point, my plus my extra 2 inches, 1 inch of darting and 1 inch of seam allowance. I'm going to come down from my waist to my hip, which is going to be somewhere at 10 or 10.5, somewhere here. I'm going to also start from this point again, insert my hip measurement divided by 4, which is at 11.5 plus extra 1 inch added to it. That's it. So now that's why I said do your hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2, the 1 inch on the side and then the 1 inch of my zipper, if that makes sense. So from now I'm going to connect from here all the way to this point here, you understand? And then this one is going to be my seam allowance. So now the next thing I'm going to do is down at this point I'm going to subtract about 2 inches. It depends on you. You can do 1.5, but this is going to be long, right? The skirt part of this, it comes down like way below my knee. It's like mid calf, because I want it quite long. So because this measurement I have here is also the same measurement I have down here, so I'm just going to take away about 1.5 inches from down here, just so that it will taper. Because remember, when you're making a pencil skirt at your knee, you normally remove like 1 inch, but this comes down even longer. So I would like to do more than 1 inch, because the more you're going down on your leg, the narrower it becomes, right? So at the upper part of my leg by my knee, I can do with 1 inch removal, but coming down to where my calf is, I will need to remove more, because that part is now narrower going down to my leg. So from that point now, I'm going to connect, come down here by about, come down from this point by about 2 inches or so, and then I'm going to just blend it in from here all the way to this point. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut. So this particular thing, I'm cutting for both the front and the back. So let me tell you what I'm cutting now. I'm cutting from here. I'm cutting off all the seam allowance here, and then all the seam allowance here. So guys, you see we've cut off the things on the sides of this now. So the first two fold, remember this fabric is folded, the first one is folded, the second one is folded. The one below will be our front panel. But you see everything is the same here. We are cutting both the front and the back as the same, but what we are going to do now is this back panel, I'm going to split it open, because my zip is going to be coming in between this side of the back, you understand? So let me split it open all the way to the end. So guys, you see what I did here? I've gone ahead and split open the back, and then I added my darts 2 inches before my hip line, and then 4.5, just your nipple to nipple measurement is the distance you need from here. Your nipple to nipple divided by 2, and then you mark half an inch on this side, half an inch on this side. So I'm going to take the back away, and then I'm going to notch it here, so that I know that the darts, I'm going to be putting this dart on the 2 sides of the back. So let's take it away and focus on the front. So this is our front panel. So guys, that my front panel, what I'm going to do is to open it up, right? Because we are trying to move that extra 2 inches, because this is too big to be your front panel. So we opened up that. We are going to take our back panel and place it on it. So you see you're going to place it making sure that the edges are the same. That is done. The next thing I'm going to do now is just to go ahead and fold away this I'm going to fold away this my seam allowance. That way, because you remember, once you fold away this zipper allowance now, this is now your center of your skirt, right? Because this is just our allowance that we're going to sew up to add a zip. So once we close it up, this is actually the center back of our skirt, right? So this line here will be the center back of our skirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in so that I can use it to. So guys, now I folded away that seam allowance. Now this is the center of my skirt. I've marked it. So what I'm going to do is to mark where my nipple to nipple measurement is on this one. You see where my dart is? You remember that notch I made here for my nipple to nipple that I measured from after where the line of my front panel is, where the line of my zipper is from this point to this point, which is 4.5 for me, right? I'm going to also insert that from this point to where, just basically I'm going to use this now as where my center line is, the center of my skirt is. So for that is going to be somewhere here, which is 4.5 here. And then remember, it's 2 inches that we use for the zipper, which is 1 inch on this side of the zip, 1 inch on the other side of the zip, right? It's 2 inches we use. And basically what we're trying to do here is just to move that 2 inches to be on the point where our slit in front is going to be. And remember, our slit in front is actually going to be at one leg of our dart in front of our clothes. Remember, your dart is normally 8 inches apart from each other, or like 9 inches. Just your nipple to nipple is what will determine it. So let's say my dart is on this side. The other side is where instead of a dart on the other side, it will now be the slit of my skirt going down there. So basically what I need here is that 2 inches of zipper allowance. Make sure I mark 2 inches here. And now I know that if I fold this on top of each other, I've taken away, so make sure that these points meet each other. This will now be my seam allowance to make this slit. So a slit will be coming in here, and this excess clothes here will be what I'll use to fold. That 1 inch here is what I'll use to fold away that slit. So now if I measure from my waist on this side, I have 11 inches. Watch and see now. If I measure from my center seam to this point, is going to be 11 inches. So you see my waist has actually balanced out. So now I have my actual waist, which is from this point to this point, because there's no zipper here, and this front one there's no I've taken away the dart here, which will serve as this slit, if that makes sense. So now all I have to do is just to go ahead and make sure that the line also align at the I can align it also at the bottom here, and then I'm going to cut this open. So I'm going to slit it open from this point to the end, and then close it back up again using 1 inch. But this time around, I'm going to close it back up to maybe somewhere here, using 1 inch distance here, and stop somewhere here, depending on where you want your slit to stop. So let's say I want my slit to stop here. I'm just going to make a stitch from this point, come down to this point. Remember, by then I've already slit this open. So now I'm just going to turn it on itself using that 1 inch of seam allowance. So let's go ahead and do that. So guys, this is it here. Like I said, this is the front panel. You see that 1 inch has moved over to this side. So let me turn it over so you see. So you see what I was saying? That seam here, we'll close it up, stop where you want to stop, slit it open, and then you see this is where my dart would have been. See, my second dart stopped here, but this one went as far using that 1 inch for my zipper allowance, moving down. So now let me bring my back panel so you guys would also see that. So this is the back panel here. So you see, this is the lower part of the back, this is the upper part of the back. So all I have to do now is just to, you see my 2 darts here, this is for my zipper here, you see. So now all I have to do is just to close up the 2 sides, close up here and then close up here all the way to the end. So guys, once you've done that, you've joined the 2 sides. The next thing is that you're going to take it, separate it into 2 this way. That's, I mean, your front slit, right? So how you're going to fold it is, you're going to fold it like the hem of your clothes. Fold it, so you see what it looks like straight. I'm going to fold half first, and then fold it back again. So you're going to fold it all the way from this end this way, like this. And then you're going to make a stitch. So you're going to make a stitch all the way coming up from here. Cross over on this other side, tuck in half an inch on this edge too, and then continue the stitch down on this other side. So just like that. So you come in from this one side, So cross over and then go down all the way to the end. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll move over to the top. So guys, now to the top, first thing you're going to do is to measure your bust measurement divided by 4. So it's going to be 10.5 for me, and then I added extra 3 inches to it. The 3 inches is all the seam allowances we are going to need. So that's the width of the fabric, and then the length is basically where you want the top to start. So the top is going to start at 6.5 for me, and then but you see I left it here because I want to use half an inch from the body of this cloth for it. So then my waist is at 17, and then I have half an inch at the lower part here. So the next measurement I have here is the shoulder to your armhole divided by 2, which is going to serve as my chest line, and this is at 9.5. So basically you're calculating your shoulder to be somewhere here at 1, right, at the beginning of the tape. So place my tape at where my top is going to start, and then my shoulder to my armhole divided by 2, my shoulder to my nipple, my shoulder to my under bust, shoulder to nipple at 12, under bust at 15.5, waist at 17. Basically your measurement would have looked something like this going into your armhole, like how your basic bodice would always look, something like this, you understand? So normally this is what our bodice would look like, but we are trying to cut it as an off shoulder. So now that we've done that, we are going to start to insert our measurement. So come down to the nipple line, come down to your under bust line. You're going to divide your under bust, your nipple to nipple by 2, so 4.5 for me. So it's 4, but you're going to add half an inch, so that's 4.5. Mark that here also. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to bring that 4.5 up to this line, and then I'm going to connect it. So guys, but before we start, let me separate the back and the front so that I don't mistake the two of them. So I'm going to separate it so that I don't confuse. So remove this one here, and then removed one. Now let's focus on the front. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is on this my armhole line, I'm going to add my bust divided by 4. Mark it here. Come up to the top part of this cloth, add my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which would have been 8, but I'm going to subtract about 1.5 from it, which will be somewhere here, and then I'm going to connect this line to this line in form of a curve, and then on that curved line I'm going to come down about 2 inches in on this curved line, which is somewhere here, and then I'm going to connect it to this so I'm going to connect it. You can do 2 inches, you can do 2.5, so I'm going to do 2.5 and then connect it down to this point here, to the nipple line here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is also mark about 1.5 inches here, and then also mark the same 1.5 inches here, connect the two of them together, and then I'm going to connect 1 inch from below my nipple line, connect it in form of a curve to this line, and then on this upper part here I'm going to mark 1 inch above, and then half an inch below, so that's 1.5. Connect it into this line, and then connect it into this line. Guys, it will be better to use your ruler. Don't mind I'm doing it this way. And then after that, you have this curve of your nipple, this part here. So you see I've drawn my bust here, and then on the lower leg of this dart, remember this is the center line, this is the lower half an inch, this is the 1 inch at the top. On the lower leg of the dart, I'm going to take it up by 1.5. right? That 1.5 I took it up by. You can even measure yours just to be sure. Mine is 1.5. I'm also going to now curve it down into this armhole line. And then after that, all I need to do is just to insert all my measurements. So first I'm going to place back my tape again. Waist divided, my bust divided by 4 is already here like I marked initially. I'm going to then do plus whatever measurement I have somewhere here on this line of my armhole, which is 1 inch. I'm going to add it back and then add in 2 inches of seam allowance. Do the same thing on the waist. Come down to the waist, divide your waist by 4. So whatever it is, I'm going to add back this measurement from here, which is 1.5, and then 2 inches of sewing. Connect it together from this armhole part all the way to the waist, and that's basically it. So now let me go ahead and cut. Guys, another thing you can do is that on the neckline, if you don't want to keep it straight, you can always come down 1 inch on the neckline and just blend it in, so it can give you some curve and not just go straight on your neck. So come down here by 1 inch and then continue it this way. So now let me go ahead and cut it. So guys, this is it here. This is what it looks like. for my back panel. So basically what I'm going to do for the back now is just to go ahead and you see I've marked the same line is what I have here. I'm going to go up again on the shoulder part and insert my shoulder divided by 2. Mark that, take away 1.5 from it, or you can do 2 inches depending on you. And then I'm going to come in here and mark my bust divided by 4. Mark it. And then after that I'm going to connect from that point of my armhole to this point of my bust measurement, right? And then after that all I have to do is just to go down here and insert my nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus that 1/2 inch, which is 4.5 for me. Connect it in form of a straight line all the way down. Guys, you see that I actually marked 1 inch for my zipper here, right? And all my measurements are starting after the zipper. And then I'm going to just come down here by maybe 1 inch or 1.5 and then blend this into the line here. You don't have to try to avoid making this curvy because there's no bust at the back, so you need it to almost look straight. So this is it for me. And then I'm just going to extend this line a little bit by, let's say, 1 inch, and then blend it back into the armhole. And then this is just so that when you're sewing it back together, you don't run short of fabric, because this outer one is always shorter. So you want to make up for that, you always have to add a little bit here. So now after that, just add in your 2 inches of sewing allowance. Come down to the waist, do the same thing. Your waist divided by 4, mark it, and then your 2 inches of sewing allowance. Connect the two together, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it. So guys, this is it here. I've gone ahead and cut off this part. This go from here out on this side here, and then also remove the side, cut into this part here, remove this here, and then also the bottom part. So once you finish cutting the front panel, this is what you will be left with: one center piece here, and then one of this on each side of it. So all you have to do is just to take it and join this part together and join this part together, and that is it. The same goes for the back. You see, I've also gone ahead and cut off this part here. You're just plating this one into 2. There's nothing to remove from the center except just this top part and then the fabric by the side, and that is it. So basically for the back, you have your 1 inch of zipper allowance. You're going to have the zipper in the center, and then you're going to have these 2 on the side. One here, join it, and then this other one here, join it, and that is it. But guys, before we do that, we are also going to go ahead and remove 1 inch from the bottom of this here, just so that our zip can relax better. So I'm going to place this back again so we can cut it off. So guys, you see I came up here by 1 inch and then connected it this way to the back. Make sure that the end of this part is still the same, right? But this will help. From the center of this zipper part is where you're trying to reduce. So I removed 1 inch at the lower part, and then I also removed 1 inch at the top part, you see, and then blended it into this part. If you want, you can even do up to 2 inches at the top part if you want it to be really curvy. So now I'm just going to cut off this and cut off this and start to join everything together. So guys, this is the sleeve I'm working with. So basically the width I have here is about 23, and then the length, as you can see, I folded this end because this is the end of the sleeve and this is the top part. I've already made a casing here. So basically what you're going to do is the length I have is about 27, but remember you need to add to this 20. Okay, I have 27.5 here. You will need 1 inch that you're going to use to fold this end, and then you will need about 1.5 to make the casing for my elastic. This is the top part of the shoulder. So now that is done, I came up here by 4 inches. But guys, if you want, you can make your sleeve longer so that way it will be puffier, and then it can drape over and cover more. Because if you see, I did 4 inches here, but you can do 5 inches if you're looking to have like a longer one. So now what I'm going to do is just to go ahead and take my elastic. You can just measure what your cuff would be, right? What you need as your cuff. Sorry, you can measure what you need as your cuff here, and then from that point you can go ahead and then place your elastic from this point and then sew on top of the elastic, pulling this whole fabric inside of it. That's how you do it. So that's why I rule this line, so that I know as I'm sewing, my elastic is going to be placed on this line, and then I'm going to use it to gather this whole cloth together. I'm just pulling only the elastic, I'm not pulling the fabric. But as you're making the stitch, the elastic is now helping to pull the fabric together. So now, with that said, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close up this here so that I can cut the top part so you guys can see. So guys, you see my dress, you see this side is done. I did this side already. See my elastic, you see this is the opening of the elastic here. So this side is done. So now let me show you guys how you're going to get the other side done. So after you fixed in your cloth, join the top and the bottom, and then finished up your slits, you see the next thing you're going to do is this armhole part of it. You're going to get it the way it is, and then you're going to place it. It will be better for you to use the wrong side, right? So that way you can get all the width of it. So you're going to take it the way it is, flip it over, and then where the part where the casing of your elastic is going to be, you're going to take this here, and then you're going to place it this way so that you can cut out the armhole. Make sure you've already folded the casing. Make sure you've already folded the casing for the elastic. That way you can be able to get exactly what you need. So make sure you folded the casing, and then you're going to place the beginning of the top to where the beginning of this one is, and then you're going to go ahead and mark the armhole. So I'm going to draw in what this armhole looks like here. So draw it in here, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut. And as you can see, I've used bias to finish up this part here, put in my zip, and then I also did the same thing for the front. I use bias to finish. I can't use lining because this fabric is heavy. So you see, I use bias to finish up the center neck, and then use bias to finish up the back neckline. And this is it here. So now let me go ahead and cut out this part. So you see, I've drawn it. So guys, I've gone ahead and cut this out now. So I'm just going to take it here, take my elastic. I'm going to pass it from one end and come out on the other end, and then join this to the sleeve. So you're going to take it this way, and then open this up, join one side of this here, one side here to the front armhole, and then the other side here to the back armhole, and then close it up. Let me show you guys from this side. So now see the one I've done here. So you see, basically you're going to make sure you put your elastic at the top, coming all over on top here, and then you close it up on this armhole, close it up on this other side, and then you close up everything from under the sleeve. So see it here from under the sleeve. You see one seam going in all the way down here, but this part here is basically just this one here, except that there's an elastic there. So this is basically the same thing as this sleeve here, just like this, you see, except there's an elastic passing through this opening on top here, and then one of it is joining to the front and one of it is joining to the back. Sew it this way and then close it up all the way to the end. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, hem the end of my clothes, and bring it back so you guys would see. So guys, this is it here, it's done. And this type of sleeve, you can wear it off shoulder, you can wear it on your shoulder. That's the good thing. So that's basically it here. See the bottom of the dress, you could see I just have to trim off the threads, and that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.